If you've heard of Operation Gridlock, then you heard about the protesters in Michigan today swarming the Capitol in Lansing and letting the governor know symbolically that they are ready to go back to work. If you're listening to the mainstream media talk about it, then you're thinking that it's a bunch of maybe a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 people in Michigan coming out of their homes against the suggestions of the officials, the health experts and the government elected officials that we apparently have told we don't need constitutional rights any longer, against their will, going out into the public and spreading this virus amongst themselves. And that's not what it was. So I'm here to just share a little bit, because I attended today just as an objective viewer to get a little bit of footage to show exactly what this rally was. So I can show you first, if you're looking at your screen, this is from WZZM 13 on your side. Come prepared for traffic jam in Lansing. We want gridlock, unquote. I should have quoted. I should have let you know that that was a quote from the group on Facebook. And that group on Facebook is the Operation Gridlock is the name of it. That was an event put on. It was a public event on Facebook today. You could have found this yourself. It was scheduled for noon today at the Capitol building, and it lists a North Capitol address there. And this was put on by Michigan Conservative Coalition and the Michigan Freedom Fund. So two independent groups. I know that a rumor was one was linked to Betsy DeVos, and I'm happy to dive into that, though I don't know anything about it now. But if you're looking at this, you can read on, as of Monday evening, over 3,000 people have said they are going, and 14,000 are interested. The Facebook event lists its organizers as the Michigan Conservative Coalition and the Michigan Freedom Fund. I just said that. Whitmer spoke about the protest in a press conference on Monday. Quote, "I'm always going to defend your right to free speech," she says. "I support people's right to demonstrate and to use their voice." The governor just asked that people participating practice safe social distancing in order to stay healthy and keep first responders healthy. She also questioned the political underpinnings of the protest, and it goes on to talk about how the DeVos family, who's a sitting member of the cabinet, is waging political attacks. I don't see it that way. I see a bunch of people locally who work in groups, who work with their communities, who know that, as I do, as everyone does in the state, we are ready to get back to work. If you've not been sick in 5 or 6 weeks, you're ready to get back to work. You're pissed off that you're being told you have to stay home through the end of the month. So we're not talking about the people being knocked on their windows in their cars on Easter. We're not talking about any of that. I just wanted to show this. So this is the first piece. The second is a little bit of footage from this afternoon, because I really wanted to show people exactly what you could have seen if you were in Lansing today, if you were watching any of the protesters in their cars for miles down blocks in every direction on every street that I could see. And I'll tell you why. I did see all of them in a little bit. I could circle all of the Capitol area of Lansing. If you put a pin in the center of the Capitol building itself and just drew a couple mile radius around that, every single part of those roads were covered in cars, honking their horns, holding signs out, protesting. In a lot of cases, as you're seeing people getting out of their cars, walking around. This is in front of the Capitol building, and you can see for yourself. I'll shut up in a minute. You can just see all of the different people that are out here are keeping their space, right? No one's bunched up. It's part of her problem, Governor Whitmer's problem with us being out there today, was that she was worried, and a lot of people on Reddit, you're seeing 50, 100,000 different people commenting about how, oh, these people are just going to be spreading the virus. Watch your screen. No one is coughing in anyone's faces. Most people are wearing masks. I don't see anyone getting too close to anyone else, but this just proves, you can look at that. Homes are essential. This is obviously a home builder in a truck. Trucks like this in the thousands, and not just like that, but much more commercial. You saw 3,000 or more commercial trucks today, from masonry, lumber, you name it, plumbing trucks. They were all out. And it was just really interesting to be there. So I thought you could watch this, but to see something other than what the mainstream media is going to show, which are still clips, small little just dots of information, and they're going to dance this whole narrative around it. And I'd rather you just see for your eyes. This is what I recorded today. People keeping their distance, people that know each other together and staying together. Otherwise, this is a very safe event. I don't see a problem here. So I walked around. I wanted to make sure, okay, is this just in front of the Capitol building? I was really early getting there, so I actually got a nice little spot in, and I got out really easily. At one point, though, I lost the zone that I parked in, so I had to circle the place looking for exactly where I'd parked, which is why I know how busy it was in every single car that was all over. You can see a gal is going to Hillsdale, wants support, put it on a poster. You can go back and zoom in if you want to support that. I believe it was Patriot 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But just look, I mean, you can see all these people out just supporting the fact that everyone is ready to get back to work. Everyone in Michigan wants to get back to work. Nobody's being unsafe. So I guess in that regard, they did what the governor had asked. But they're here to simply say to the governor, to Gretchen Whitmer, we don't care for the extension of, well, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be going back to work for any time soon. The differentiation between who's important and who's not. And for anyone watching this going, well, everyone's being treated the same, I beg to differ. I think all jobs are equal, but they're not being treated equal in terms of the law. And here is what I wanted to show next. So this is going to be Gretchen Whitmer describing to you how she sees the low income of society, the dregs of society, the ugly people, the poor, the low income is how she describes it. But we all know the kind of gaslighting that she's doing there when she's saying the low income. And you can hear how she describes this. Anyways, the point of me showing you this piece is I want you to understand exactly, I'm backing it up, I want you to understand she does not care about the lives or the people. She wants to make this look really good for her.
Landscaping, I've heard these seem to be the ones that we hear the most from the legislature, some of the Republican legislators. It's not critical infrastructure. It's just not.
Talking about builders, the trades, low income.
And to be candid, just by engaging in it can expose people to risk.
So we're going to back it up. You're going to hear it again. But she just is saying anyone who's in a low income, a skilled trade, anything like that, that's not essential infrastructure. So you can be out of job forever, and it doesn't really matter because you're not important to saving a life. Building a home isn't important to saving a life. Fixing plumbing is not important to saving a life. Apparently she's never been outside of a little, rich white elite bubble to know that all of those things are crucially important to human health.
To be candid, just by engaging in it can expose people.
Hang on a second.
Landscaping, I've heard these seem to be the
landscaping is what the last one she named. She said building, trades, landscaping.
Legislators. It's not critical infrastructure. It's just not. They are not necessary to sustain life. And to be candid, just by engaging in it can expose people to risk.
Now, people that heard her say that, people that understand, people that have been hearing her say that, are people that were out there today. Because I know a lot of people are on Reddit or other social medias and saying, who in their right mind would be out in Michigan, in the capital of all places, intentionally going around other people just for a protest right now during a virus that doesn't seem right? How can they do this? Lock them up, ticket them, they should die, all these different things that I've seen. And the one thing that they're not realizing is you've heard, if you're a citizen of Michigan, if you're a Michigander, you've heard your governor for a long time talk about poor and middle class people like this, how you don't really matter, your rights are insignificant when I'm in power, and somehow or another, she was elected.
Serious risk. Every time you ask a low-income person to come out and fill up their gas tanks, go get food, it's additional opportunity for exposure and for spread. And that's what happens when you go to the...
So it's not her, it's not Governor Whitmer that's going to help spread this. It's the poor people. If you're low income and you touch a gas tank, if you touch the gas handle at the gas pump, you're going to spread it if you're low income. She's not concerned. Her staff's not concerned. They can do whatever they need to do. The rich white elite can go on and move around and do whatever they want to do. The lefties can do whatever they'd like to do, so long as it's cripple the economy and keep your butt home. That's what this means to do. That's what this is. There's no doubt about it. Now here is a really sweet video that was put out. It's by Gretchen. Now she obviously understands a lot of kids in Michigan are afraid that the Easter Bunny is not going to come right for Easter because this past Sunday, I don't know if your Easter Bunny came, but mine didn't. If anyone's lost a tooth recently, the tooth fairy might not be able to come because people are trapped in homes. So here was her best attempt to smooth things over a little bit.
This is Governor Gretchen Whitmer and my dog Kevin. We heard there were kids in Michigan who had a few concerns, so I wanted to let you know.
Remember who's not an essential worker, by the way. Everyone. Everyone who's got a skill or a trade. You're not important.
Essential workers.
But the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy
doing
are.
their jobs, even though the rest of us are staying home. They're following all of
I
the
get it.
procedures we gave them to make
It's a
sure they
joke.
can stay safe and healthy.
It's like a nice thing that they
Now,
can show the
they
kid
did
and
let
be
us
like, see,
know
child,
that there
look.
was an increase
Even the
in
governor
demand
says.
for the goodies that they leave behind for you all. So,
How thoughtless, though. Can you imagine how thoughtless to put out the video and say, like, hey, parents, I just told you how your job doesn't matter and your life is insignificant, but I want you to tell your child that you're still going to give them a gift and you're going to have to choke on this guilt of making some
they may
substitutes.
need to make some substitutions for this year's treats, but they are excited to visit you and simply ask that you be sure to listen to your parents. Make sure you wash your hands so that you can stay happy and stay healthy.
Keep them
From
scared.
me and Kevin. Bye.
Yeah. So I did add the last part. Sorry, guys. And I know everyone's wondering, like, okay, why is everyone freaking out? A bunch of other states have had to close. Michigan's the 4th highest ranked for coronavirus cases, so maybe it makes sense that you would close the state, right? Or at least have a lot of the different companies and public ongoings, the common spaces shut down. That would make sense. That's not what we're talking about. This is from the Federalist, so you can fact check it all you'd like. We're going to show you proof of it in a second, but you can just read along with me if you would. On the topic of the Wuhan virus, is titled, "In Name of Coronavirus, Michigan Governor Bans Seed Sales but Allows Lottery Tickets." I know, that sounds hyperbolic, but that is what is happening here. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is drawing ire from Americans quickly losing patience with additional government restrictions that lack judgment and balance. This is from, I think it's Margot Cleveland. I don't want to say Margaret, so I'm going to say it's Margot Cleveland at the Federalist. She writes, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer issued yet another executive order Thursday to address the coronavirus. Soon after the details became public, the backlash began with the press and social media uniformly condemning her draconian and nonsensical mandates, including ones that banned the sale of gardening seeds and paint, while permitting the public to continue purchasing lottery tickets. That is directly out of the article. Whitmer had issued a first mandatory stay-at-home executive order on March 23rd to, as she explained, quote, suppress the spread of COVID-19 to prevent the state healthcare system being overwhelmed, to allow time for the production critical kits and ventilators and personal protective equipment, yada, 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 stay at home, protect life, end quote. All of those things have been done. The healthcare systems are not overwhelmed. They're far from it, actually. They're saying, like, we are trying to now lay people off or send people home because we're not busy enough in some cases. I know it's not everywhere, but in many cases, that is what's happened. They have too much PPE in other places, and in some they're fine, but in no case in the United States does someone not have enough PPE to get by right now. So that has been covered. Critical tests are being cared for and taken care of and being done, rather. Excuse me. Avoid needless death. I think we're doing pretty well. They projected way, way, way higher, 10 times higher than what it is right now. I think we're at 27,000 today, right now, at this point in the day. I don't think we've broken 30 yet. I would have seen the headline, I'm sure. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But we're going to continue on because, of course, we need to stop you from buying seeds. How? Last week's executive order noted that while those measures have been effective to do all of those things, keeping you home, that is, as of April 8, Michigan had reported more than 20,000 confirmed cases of the Wuhan coronavirus. And we had almost 1,000 deaths at that point. I think there are more now. Whitmer extended the stay at home through the end of the month. So that would make sense. You're looking at that, you're saying, okay, that makes sense. She extends the stay at home because we got hit harder than we would have thought, and we tried to stay home, so we're going to stay home a little longer. But the next part of this doesn't make as much sense. Whitmer's order is full of micromanaging nonsense, but the extension of the executive order isn't what took the public aback. Rather, it is the inconsistencies and pettiness that garnered outrage. So this is where she says, I wish this didn't have to be political and we didn't have to do this whole tit-for-tat quibbling. And then she comes out and does exactly that, going after the only things that people can be doing right now. Quote, state residents can't travel to their up north cottages, but Illinois residents who own one in Michigan apparently can. Unquote. The Detroit Free Press opened its coverage of Whitmer's latest restrictions. That is, in fact, exactly what the executive order mandates. That's providing after April 10, quote, travel between two residencies is not permitted. If you own two properties or two homes, you're not allowed to go to that second one, technically. And by what order? Her authority, her executive order, she says, as of April 10, not allowed to. This is total authoritarianism, and she thinks that she's queen. I didn't die and make her the queen. I don't think anybody else elected her the queen. And that doesn't make any more sense to me as far as how I said it than it does to you. But do you understand what I'm saying? Which is, she thinks that she's God, and she's not. She thinks that she can tell you, close down your business, shut down this. You can't go here. You can't go there. And her whole rationale, she will get to in a second. But she's saying seeds, paint, anything at the aisle cap, anything that would be home improvement, anything that may be nice for you to do. Anything like this that my fiance got, she has these little thread bowls that you make out of glue and tape, and you do that for about an hour, and that makes you want to hang yourself. But that's something you can do, and I just don't see why that's not allowed, especially when they sell that kind of stuff at Meijer or Target, Walmart, any of these big box stores that you can still go to. Costco's got some of these things. I'm not saying go open the little, niche craft store downtown, but I am saying you can sell these things at stores that are already going on and selling groceries that people are going to every day. So here she is explaining this, and I believe, hang on, this is Ryan Abel, and he is from, I think it's Detroit 7, Action 7 News in Detroit.
Gardens as well. And, we have the landscaping, but gardens as well. Many of these.
It's not softballs that he's lobbing her, but it's not hardball questions either.
Food, seeds, plants, vegetables. Can they sell these things for curbside pickup? What do you say to that?
We had to design the executive order so it was very clear that we don't want people leaving their homes unless they're going to pick up food or prescriptions or.
Let me just dodge the entire question. I'm going to go back until you can hear the presentation of his question, because he has a decent question. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. He says, hey, for the stores that are selling things, and people do plant seeds for food, like they grow food. You can have a mint, basil, all these different spices and cooking ingredients that you can grow in your backyard, but you can also grow real vegetables and fruits and things. And if people have the time and the land and the resources, they may as well be doing that right now. And a lot of people, if the news is being accurate, you may be at home for 18 months. So that's what they're saying is, well, I should be starting a garden right now. I should be starting a living food garden. And what is she saying? That's not essential. And I'm going to decide for you that we are going to go food poor because you're not allowed to buy your own food right now, to grow your own.
For gardens as well, and, we have the landscaping, but
not
gardens
essential.
as well. Many of these garden companies sell what's needed for people to grow their own food, seeds, plants, vegetables. Can they sell these things for curbside pickup? What do you say to that?
We had
curbside pickup, remember? So he says, can you go to the store and buy curbside pickup? So it negates you having to go in. It negates you having to touch anything other than the stuff that you're already going to get.
To design the executive order so it was very clear that we don't want people leaving their homes unless they're going to pick up food or prescriptions or they have a healthcare appointment.
Again, if they're already out, then it doesn't change anything.
Going to Home Depot and picking up a bunch of garden supplies sounds like a fine idea when you're
they're not going to touch anything.
Looking at all of these projects you want to tackle.
You can.
The more people that are out,
yes,
the more likely COVID-19 is going to continue to spread. It's more people touching that gas pump.
Only if they have it, which if they have it and they're asymptomatic, that would be the only way that they could transmute it. And how long has it been that they would have had to have caught it and then still have it? If I've been home for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I still haven't kicked it, and I'm asymptomatic, is it still alive? I don't know. I don't believe it though. And I can't believe that that's what she's saying here. It's just not.
focusing on the gas pump, but here's why. COVID-19, the virus, the
The
germs
gas
can
pump.
stay alive.
I don't want you to
for
drive around. It's
3
the
days,
gas
so
pump.
72 hours. So
It's
you
this
think about
gas
how many
pump. If
people
you touch the
that
gas pump.
in a 72-hour period, that they're all contaminating one another.
It's just
You
the
pick
poor
up your
people.
phone, you just put
I
it all over
I
your
think.
face,
Well, I
you're
wonder if it's
bringing it
because she
in your
doesn't
house,
ever
even if you're
pump her
wearing
own
gloves.
gas. I think that may be
The
it. She's
odds
never
of
pumped her own gas,
cross-contamination are
so she's
very
just like
high,
the
and that's
poor
why we've
people
got
do
to
it.
limit trips to things that are really essential, and redoing your flooring or putting in your garden right now is not essential, and so we're curtailing that as well.
Okay, so no one asked her to curtail it, and she doesn't have the authority to curtail it. Here's a picture that was taken and sent in from a friend. This is an Instagram post, obviously. You can see this is in a store very similar to a Walmart or a Sam's Club, a Costco, Meijer in the Midwest. These are Valley Forge American flags made in the United States. They're taped off, and there are signs posted around different stores. Depending on where you go, the management might type their own sign. But it says, due to concerns over COVID-19 and due to this not being an essential item, you are not allowed to buy it. They have people standing by to try to shoo you away from things that you're not supposed to buy. I mean, these are things like a flag, or like pottery, like clay, like art supplies, like cooking utensils and things that are non-essentials but are in the food section, like little appliances and things. Anything that you can get at that is not food. In some stores they've blocked off, and this is the biggest and worst example. They're going to block off the American flag because it's not essential. Governor Whitmer thinks that that's non-essential for you to have, and I think that's appalling, and so should you. And I know that this was funny, so I wanted to share this. Say what you will. And then I've got a little bit more footage from this afternoon, just so that you can see exactly how big this was. I don't know the numbers. I don't know that really many people do. I haven't seen what the helicopter footage was or what the numbers looked like from the aerial, but I would guess tens of thousands of people, definitely thousands of cars. And you're going to hear from a guy here in a second as to what he thought the effect of this was, whether or not Governor Whitmer would hear this or not, whether she would reflect on this, if she would respond to this at all. Very interesting. So let me know what your thoughts were as well.
What do you think? I think we're heard loud and clear. Good luck going to lunch.
It just goes on forever. Just goes on forever. For literal miles, I shouldn't say forever. For literal miles, you have cars backed up, virtually bumper to bumper. I think that's 6 feet for nearly every car. I didn't see any smart cars out there. You had a lot of women out. That's what I was surprised. I was telling my fiance, there were more women, I thought, than men. I can go back and look at the video maybe and count it. I'm not going to. I thought there were more women than men out. Maybe I'm wrong there, but there were certainly more women with bullhorns. Certainly more vocal, horn blasting. I just thought that was interesting, something that would have been good to know. So anyways, that was the Operation Gridlock in Lansing, Michigan today.